All right, so I'm live. Sorry about that. I didn't really give myself a whole lot of time after coming home from work to set everything up, and I just looked at the clock and said, "Oh my gosh, it's it's I'm 3 minutes late." So I'm going to go ahead and start this off with saying thank you for joining me for this Q&A about Volcano Bay today. I have some questions already ready to go from the previous times I've asked for questions. Hopefully you haven't given up and about this going live and will join me in the chat. So for now, and I'm hoping I'm going to be saying your names correctly, Lizeth Flores says, what was the name of the water park before Volcano Bay? Now, there was a water park before. It was called Wet and Wild. It wasn't in the same spot as Volcano Bay. It was where the Endless Summer, Dockside, and Surfside are going in right now. I believe that Universal tried to buy more property around Wet and Wild, but the people who owned the property around there weren't willing to sell. I have no idea whether or not they were looking to replace Wet and Wild. Oh, hey Brandy. Sorry about the late start. I have no idea if they were going to build Volcano Bay in that spot or not, but that is one of the first water parks in America. It opened in 1977 and fortunately was closed at the end of 2016, making it just short of 40 years. Cyril Palmer says, here's one. Since we always have to exit to the gift shop, what's some of the things you feel like are actually worth spending money on? Whether that's trinkets, snacks, etc., etc. That's something I'm probably going to have to look into a little bit more and really think about it. But one of my favorite things to eat there is the pulled pork sandwich, because it comes with it's really good and the fries are great too. But it comes with a slice of pineapple on top, which really balances out nicely. There's a few other things that come with it. Slaw, I think, tomato, lettuce, stuff like that. I don't order it with it, so I forget what comes with it. The jerk shrimp mac and cheese is also really good. And there is a insulated bottle that they sell. It doesn't have a brand name on it. It doesn't even come with instructions, if I remember correctly. It is at Volcano Bay, and it's actually really good. It's surprisingly good because I figured, well, it's just theme park merch, but I used it for quite a while. The only problem with it is it has a small opening, and it's hard to get ice into it. But it actually works so well that it works too well. Sometimes I will put water into it and like halfway, and put it in the freezer with the lid off, of course. And even on a hot day, sometimes I'll actually have to go find some hot water because the ice takes so long to melt that I'm like, oh great, so I have a half bottle of ice I can't drink. So that's a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing because it works that well, but it's a bad thing when you are hoping for a liquid. I'm sure there's a lot of other things in Volcano Bay, and that's something that could be expanded to other parts of Universal Orlando, or even maybe other parks. But those two things are some of my favorite things that I think are definitely worth spending money on. Even though only one of them was a actual gift shop item. I did buy the waterproof bag, but it's kind of awkward to carry, so I haven't really used it. So Danielle Hetzel, I think. I'd be interested in seeing all the interactive TapoTapo points and where they are located. So that's something I'll definitely show in the video once I create it. There are a few places like on the bridge, some of them that opened much later after the park was originally opened. There is one that you can spray water and actually move the nozzle around to aim it at different people into a part of the pool that's usually not open. So Leah Cartwright, this was another one of those that was a year ago. So, hi Dave, we are coming to Volcano Bay from the UK in the middle to end of August. Hope you had fun. And we heard that the parks sometimes reached full capacity shortly after opening in the mornings. Staying off site, we will most likely arrive to the park around 10:30 a.m., but we fear we may be turned around if the park is at capacity. Does this seem to be true? And if so, how long after opening? That's a tricky one. It depends on what time of the year. Right now, of course, I don't think that they hit capacity, but it's no, I should have. There's a phone number you can call to find the information about capacity. I'll try to make sure to put that in the actual full video, but again, it's kind of tricky. I believe the app might tell you, but also if you follow the official Twitter feed of Universal Orlando in the summer, they often will post a tweet about the park hitting capacity, but I can't give you a generic, this time will be absolutely capacity, because it depends. And this is from MPT 1001. Stay till closing. This is more of a comment than a question, but stay till closing. All the rides are shorter waits and wait to go on Taniwa tubes till later. The line dies down. So that's a good point. In the summer, the other two parks, Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios, closes generally around 10 p.m. Volcano Bay does not close at 10 p.m. It's usually about 9 p.m. at the latest. And originally it was, I think, because they were still working on the lighting, but people just don't stay until the park closes for the most part. So if you want to hit the park, the Volcano Bay, later in the day, it gets a lot quieter. I believe that they don't open until 10 o'clock because it just isn't worth having the staff there. That's speculation. I don't know. There might be another reason. But definitely, I know a lot of people, I'm one of them, usually is, you want to hit the water park first so you can dry off the rest of the day. But my tip is, if you are willing to, go later in the day, because as he said, or she, I'm not sure, this user said it does die down later in the day. So Jason Clapp, I'm guessing. Hello, Dave from the UK. I'm coming over on the 25th of September. Hope your trip went well. Going on Volcano Bay on the 28th. How many rides are single riders? By single riders, if you mean only one person at a time, there are some, like Oh Yeah and Oh No, Kala and Tainui and Krakatoa, not Aqua Coaster, but Kapikawai. No, that's the wrong. Sorry, I haven't worked in a while. There's a few that are like that. Some of them are like Krakatoa Aqua Coaster is 2, 3, or 4. Some require 2 people, like the tube rides generally require 2 people, and it's up to 5, I believe. So, if you're wondering about rides that you're the only one, mostly the tube rides, Oh Yeah and Oh No, are the only ones that aren't located in the volcano, but all the rest of the volcano-based rides located on the top are one rider at a time. So, Monty Perito, sorry. Going in early August, hope your trip went well. It would be very helpful if you could give us a rundown of best ideas on the most rides on a busy day. Example, get there early and check in the ride and check into the other. Basically, he's saying, like, how do you plan your day? And what I usually say is the Krakatoa Aqua Coaster, Kokiri Body Plunge was the one I was trying to say before. Those are the ones that tend to get long lines pretty early. So I suggest you go into the park and check in one of those 2 rides, and then go on the ride now stuff while you're waiting, and don't go. It's very tempting to go and just walk around and explore the park first, but the great thing about the virtual line is you have all that time that you would be spending in a traditional park literally just standing in line. There's a lot of things to do. Go into the wave pool if it's not too cold, get some food, go to shopping, go to, like I said, anything that says ride now. There's a lot of different options while you're waiting in line. So I'm going to show you my feet. Sorry, they failed me. That was a Mardi Gras reference. I usually have socks on. Unfortunately, that has nothing to do with Volcano Bay, but okay. So all these things you can do while you're waiting for the virtual line. So I suggest that you hold off on doing that until you're in a long line, like for Krakatoa Aqua Coaster. Now, I have not gone down the Kokiri Body Plunge, and I'm not going to because no thank you, but okay. But I can tell you that Krakatoa Aqua Coaster is definitely worth it. It is, it's a really great ride. And again, if you wait till the evenings, usually it's slower then. So Stephanie Q, I just visited for the first time today. I had trouble finding the Aqua Coaster. I'm speaking of that. Also, when trying to get to the wave pool from the sitting in the beach area, it's a maze to get to the wave pool and back. I had to zigzag to create a path. It was the most annoying thing, but Volcano Bay is really beautiful. So the Krakatoa Aqua Coaster, it's a little confusing because it's the same name as the actual volcano in Volcano Bay. It's in the back of the park. It's still kind of part of the volcano, but you can go through the volcano or you can go around. When I actually make the video, I'm going to have a map, and it's going to be a lot easier than this. So, but they've gotten better with paths as far as going from one place to another and having an actual paved path, or not paved, but concrete path. So you don't have to walk through the sand to get down to the Wateri Beach or the wave pool, things like that. So, where do you find Vol, the spirit of the volcano? That was from Michael Tepley, I believe. And that is when you're facing the volcano, the volcano. There's a path. Actually, you can go either way. Either side of the volcano, other side of Wateri Beach or the wave pool, there is a path into the volcano itself, and that is where you find Vol. And if you are in Volcano Bay, definitely go in there and talk to Vol, because a lot of people don't seem to, maybe, I don't know if they don't know about Vol or if they're not interested or something. So Vol is usually just hanging out, looking for someone to talk to. So go talk to Vol for a little bit. It's very interesting. You might get hooked into listening to the story of Volcano Bay, but if you don't know the story, maybe it's pretty cool. I already heard it a bunch of times before I saw Vol for the first time, because Vol wasn't... oh, well, thank you, Pete. Vol wasn't part of the volcano in the beginning. They weren't quite ready yet. So, go on to Matthew 1009. I guess they were 1008 on Volcano. I mean on YouTube already. So hey, I've been a few times, and even met you on opening day. So that was cool. Thank you. Thank you for continuing to watch. Had a hard time finding entrance to Kokiri, the body plunge, and finding kiosks for certain food items, specifically the Pog. Okay, well, if you've watched my videos in the past, you'll know the Pog is sometimes hard to find or hard to get because there are two sort of kiosks that serve it, and at least the one in the back of the park, a lot of times, for whatever reason, isn't open, which is a little annoying. There is one in the front of the park. Again, I'll be a little more specific when the video actually finally comes out. But there's two, one in the back near the Bamboo restaurant, between Bamboo and Oh Yeah, Oh No, and the one near the front is near the main restaurant. The Gambit says, does the volcano erupt all day or only at night? And is it only certain times? I haven't figured out the timing of it, but it definitely goes off all night, even pretty late at night, but it does go off during the day as well. Of course, it's a little more interesting during the day because it lights up with red and orangish light, sometimes blue for some reason. But at night, when it's all lit up in red and orange, it looks amazingly like lava, and that's the point, but they did a really good job, is what I'm saying. So I'm on a certain schedule, I'm sure, and it's pretty often. It'll shoot a little bit of water, but it really gives a big geyser of water every once in a while. And if you are in its path, depending on where the wind is, you'll probably think it's raining because it does shoot a lot of water. And that's most of them. I have some questions from before. I did not remember the username because it was more of something for myself. But so Brandy asks, what do I think will eventually go in the cleared expansion plot for Volcano Bay? I'm not sure. It can't be a whole lot, but I would love to see, I won't, but I would love to see something like Run Amok Reef, the kids area, scaled up for adults, and only adults are allowed in it because, I don't know, maybe I'm just a kid mentally, but I love going to that part of the park. There's a lot of things in a very small area, little slides, and it's really colorful, and it's lots of fun. But being a single guy, people look at you weird if you go in, or look at me weird if I go in without a kid. But some places you're not even allowed to go. Like, we're not allowed to go down the slides, probably because they're designed for children. So I probably would get stuck because I've been on a few of them at Legoland, the Legoland water park, which is of course made for kids, but they allow adults on there. And yeah, I've gotten stuck because it's not designed for adults. So my wish would be something like the kids area, but made for adults, but the same, otherwise similar. What it will be, I'm really not sure. I'd like maybe to see a little more intense version of an aqua coaster, but I don't think they would use the space for two of them. But I could be wrong. So really don't know. Does anybody else have a guess of what they would like to see, or what could be? So what's my favorite slide to go up and down while you're really slippery? Oh, well, any slide, because if I'm really slippery, then that means I can fly down them faster. I like, oh yeah, no. Like I said, I haven't been on the scary ones, so not those. I do like some of the tube rides, but that doesn't have anything to do with being slippery because I'm in a tube. So hopefully that answers your question. Some people ask, what is a POG? And I believe that actually is something that Disney started. I forget what they call, I'm getting uncentered here. I forget what they call theirs, but POG is not those little paper things from the 90s, if some of you remember that. It is pineapple, orange, and guava juice. Unfortunately from concentrate in a frozen slush, basically. And although I think it's more like it's a bit like a slush. It's a frozen dessert. Would you hire me to rub some suntan lotion on your body while it's your Volcano Bay? Don't have that kind of budget. Sorry. But feel free to join my Patreon page and pledge monthly. You know, maybe I'll get up enough money to do that. So where do you find POGs? I already answered that before. Some of these actually are questions that I went back and found who posted them, because this is more of notes for me. I just kind of added. So where are the Concierge Huts? There's one in the very front when you go into the park, and to the right there are two in the back, one kind of near Bamboo Restaurant, and one, I forget exactly what's around it, but there are three of them. And you can also rent towels, cabanas if they're available, and premium seating. Premium seating is basically 2 lounge chairs with a cover over it and a locker which unlocks with your TapoTapo, which is pretty cool. Oh, hey, Duchess. I have not, because I'm not that brave. I know brave rhymes with Dave, but I'm not. Sorry. I've gone on some of the sort of droppy slides at Disney water parks, but not the intense ones. Brian has, and I think he enjoyed them. But I have not. Sorry. Where can you get a map? I don't remember if they have them. They did, when they first opened, they were saying they will not have maps because they'll end up in the water. 'Cause unfortunately, that's what people do. They just throw them wherever they feel like. And then you have a maps floating in the pool. And, you know, that's not going to look good. So, but they did at some point start to hand out printed maps, but haven't been there in a while. I don't know if they stopped again. But if you have your phone with you, you can download the official Universal app. And there are a lot of maps around the park and wait time boards. Well, they're basically televisions. So that will help you as well. And of course, you can always ask anyone with a name tag. So, yeah, they look pretty scary to me. The other thing is, I've heard that Kokiri, when you go down it, and at the very end, sometimes water can go up into your nose. I'm like, okay, I already was scared of it. That's not helping. Okay, so g'day, Dave. Oh, hey. Hope to run into you on our trip in September. Oh, me too. The Fearless River and Jurassic Park are my favorite rides in Orlando. Yeah, I've gone on Jurassic Park a few times, the River Adventure. That was when I first, one of the first things I heard about Universal, Islands of Adventure is the Jurassic Park ride. Unfortunately, I was told incorrectly. It was described to me as you're in a Jeep like in the movie, and a full-size freestanding T-Rex chases after you. Unfortunately, not the ride in any capacity. That's probably technically impossible to have a freestanding T-Rex, but when I first visited Universal Orlando in '99, I went right over to the Jurassic Park area, found out the ride, I think, wasn't finished yet, if I remember correctly. Went back, and the ride was down for maintenance. It was probably the early February, January, February, March maintenance. It was the third time I finally went on that attraction. It's actually sort of a log flume, not really. The first time I went down it, I was like, that was terrifying. I'm going to go back on it. Wait, that's a confusing reaction. Why would I go back on it? But I've gotten to the point where, like, no, I don't want to go on that ride, because the ride vehicle, it drops at such a steep rate. Now, the Kokiri body plunge is actually a steeper drop. It drops at such a deep pitch. It feels like, of course it won't. It feels to me like the back of the ride vehicle is going to flip forward. It doesn't, but not the kind of feeling I like to experience. So I've kind of stopped that. They let you take rings on the fast river again. I haven't been there a little bit, but I don't think they're going to start that again, which is unfortunate because, like I said a bunch of times before, I don't feel like it's an enjoyable river anymore without the tubes. It started with you had to have a tube and a safety vest, a life vest. Then it was tube and life vests for only certain people, I think under a certain age. And it's gone to no tube, only life vest. But unfortunately, I don't believe they're going to let you have a tube again. So that's something, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to enjoy anymore. And I'm guessing a few of you will feel the same way. But it's been a while since they've changed that, and I don't believe they've changed that back, unfortunately. It's a better ride at night. Oh, the Fearless River, or the probably the Jurassic Park. It's the drop that I don't like. The Fearless River, yeah. It's just, I don't like floating and like water going in my face and up my nose. And that's what happens to me when I ride Kopikowai, the Winding River. Oh, that's the wrong one. Wow, I'm screwing everything up, aren't I? The Fearless River. It's just, I feel like I'm constantly fighting to stay afloat. Sorry, Universal. It's just my opinion. Maybe it's just me. I mean, go to, there's lots of reasons to go to Volcano Bay other than that. And maybe you feel differently about it. I just don't enjoy it. Came close to smashing my knees or smashing my ankles a few times. So I guess it was only a matter of time before someone else did. Ouch. Yeah. It was, that river can get pretty crazy. They don't really push it to its full limit. It was to the one point where the waves were going slightly above the walls. It was pretty cool, but yeah, we probably aren't the only ones who had such a close encounter with the hurt type. The closer encounters with a hurt kind. Bad pun. I just recently saw Close Encounters of the Third Kind on television, so I was just thinking of that. So, sorry it's taken so long to get this. I think just making sure I. So another question is, how do you get to Volcano Bay? Unfortunately, because by the time they built Volcano Bay, the only available space was on the other side of the Cabana Bay. And there's no way to get directly there. There's no like guest drop-off area. The only way is either you stay at Cabana Bay or Aventura. You can also stay at Sapphire Falls, and there, because of Aventura, there is a walking path now. It's a tiny bit further, but not really. Other than that, and you of course can take a water taxi or a bus to those hotels, but you cannot walk from Cabana Bay into the park, last I checked, unless you're staying there. I believe you can take a bus or a boat to either Aventura or Sapphire and still take the walking path in. But other than that, if you're coming to the parking garage, you need to go to what's called the south parking structure, which I think is the one they send you to normally, and you take a bus over to Volcano Bay. So, unfortunately, there wasn't space for parking. So the parking is in the main parking structure for the rest of the resort. And also, if you're coming, it's a little bit past that time of year, but not necessarily. In certain months of the year where it can be cold during winter, basically, you might not be able to go to Volcano Bay because it does close if the temperature drops below, I don't remember the exact number, a certain amount. So be aware of that as well. Right now, it doesn't look like it's going to drop below that level anytime soon, but it's not quite spring yet, so we can get another cold front and it can suddenly drop, and then you can't go. So that is all of the questions I have here. So hopefully you guys in the chat room have something else, some other questions. And this month's been pretty busy for me with work, so hopefully I can gather all this information and put the video together pretty soon. So not sure how many people are joining me today, but oh, hey Bex, what's my favorite ride? As far as Volcano Bay, it's probably the Krakatoa Aqua Coaster. Although I do like the Taniwa tubes. That tends to be a ride now most of the time, and it's pretty fun. There are some that are really, really tight and give you a decent amount of G's. I get dizzy kind of easily, and that I don't feel nauseous, but it's a little too much for me. But the ones that aren't as tight, and before you get on the ride, you just look up and you can see how tightly wound they are. And there used to be you can go up to the top level and choose which one you want to go to, but now you choose before you get up to the top. They kind of changed that around a little bit to make it easier. It is open into the evening in May. I'm not 100% sure on that. If you look at the website or the official app, it'll tell you. I know right now it is open until 5 p.m., but I'm going to guess that there's a very good chance that by May, especially late May, it probably will be open until at least 6. But I'm not sure. I'd have to check the schedule. And hey, Craig. Again, my favorite ride is Krakatoa Aqua Coaster there, and although I like most of them, Oh Yeah, No were pretty cool. The first few times I didn't notice the drop. Because I was too busy when I got to the end. When I went on Oh No, I shouted Oh No when I went into the water, and of course when I went on Oh Yeah, I had to throw back to the old Kool-Aid ads and go Oh Yeah, and I was focused on that. But once you think about it, it's not, to me, and that's a very personal thing, but to me, the Oh Yeah, No are not at all scary. I was a little worried about it. I don't think they are. I actually was able to shoot on Oh No. Yeah, Oh No, early on in the park because I had some issue. I think it was, I got all the way up to the top And then when the park first opened, they didn't let you go down the slides with shirts, the T-shirt of any kind. Later on, the rash guards or the quick dry shirts, they decided it's okay, that it's not going to get stuck. So I got all the way up to the top of the line, and they said, and I think I forgot to take my shoes off, so I had to go down. And I came back up, and they said, oh yeah, you can't wear that, you can't wear a shirt. I'm like, okay, seriously. This is the second time I made it to the top of the slide. So I think the lead kind of made an exception to let me take a camera on, but they won't do that now. So on my channel, I do have a video of me going down that if you want to see a point of view from the slide. So it was authorized at the time, so I didn't sneak it. And I do believe I said, oh no, when I was falling in. What's the best food place there? I kind of like the main restaurant, which for some reason I can't remember the name of. But even though it's like, oh, it's hot, ooh, it's intense, the Waka Wai is a contender as well. But that, like I said, the pulled pork sandwich is definitely a favorite of mine. We actually were able to get a preview of the sandwich before Volcano Bay opened because they were serving it in some of the team member grills. And that's why I was like, oh wow, this is really good. Unfortunately, they have dropped some of the things that were on the menu originally because apparently people were complaining that the food was too good. They wanted some of the basics. But yeah, the pulled pork is really good. I don't know if you've ever tried it because when you were visiting, but it's awesome. And like I said, that little slice of pineapple on the top, sometimes I'll ask for two, really makes it even better. Really gets a nice blend of flavors, and the bun that they serve it in is awesome as well. The fries, almost every time I've been there, the fries have been very good. They've been crisp, but they're not like hard, and they're soft on the inside, but they're not soggy. They're really well made. The one thing I have just been disappointed with is their shakes, which are, if you are familiar with Wendy's, it's a little bit like a Wendy's Frosty. It just, in my opinion, they're not very good. The Pog is all right. I just feel it tastes like it's made with juice from concentrate, which it probably is. And if you don't care about whether juice was frozen and dehydrated and rehydrated, from concentrate, if you don't notice the difference, you'll probably like it more than I do. So that's, and every once in a while they'll have some the new merchandise. I haven't been over there in a while, but they're always adding more stuff. Let's see who has another question about Volcano Bay? Who actually in the chat room have already been to Volcano Bay? And what did you wish you knew before you went to Volcano Bay? And if you haven't been there, what is your biggest thing that you're wondering about, as far as things you'll want to know about? And the TapoTapo, when you come in, when you scan your park admission, they will give you one. It's kind of a random color, and you have it for the time you're there. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like the Disney Magic Band, so you can't take it home with you, and you can't buy one. It's partly because you have to have one to get on any of the rides, even if it says ride now. The only thing you can do without it is going to one of the main pools, like the wave pool, and of course the rivers. Oh, yes. Thank you, Duchess. You can rent towels, but you can't. You have to pay for the rental. Usually they'll let you bring your towel from your hotel, but please be nice and take the towels with you. If you're staying on site, yes, the towels will eventually make it back to the hotels, but that's a lot of extra work that you don't need to make for somebody. So you do have to rent towels. You do not have to go off of Dutch's question. You do not have to bring a tube though. So it's on, if you stay at Cabana Bay, you have to either bring a tube or buy a tube on property to go on their little lazy river. You can, just a side note, you can bring your own tube and they will inflate it for you for free, but you do not need to bring a life vest if you have a child or you don't swim very well. That's provided, and the like I said, the tubes for Kopikawai, the winding river, is provided. And again, of course, unfortunately, you can't bring any tubes of any kind on the Fearless River. So I'm trying to think of some other stuff that would be interesting. Side note, you can actually use Apple Pay to trigger some of the TapoTapo interactive points, just because it's a generic near field. I think it's an NFC or RFID, I should say. It's a generic RFID trigger, so it doesn't check for, it doesn't obviously take money out of your account, or it doesn't check to see what it is. It's just like, oh, this is RFID, and it works. This will be our Bex. Will be our first time in October. How much is it to rent towels? Ooh, I'm sorry, I don't remember right now. Sorry. I'll have to write that down and include that in the video. It's been a little while. It's not too much. I don't think it's over $5. It could be less. I honestly can't remember right now. Oh, okay. Thanks, Duchess. I was thinking it was around $5. I couldn't remember. And yes, that is per towel. That is, I mean, it's a much higher, but that is an advantage also of the cabanas. There are different size cabanas. There's a 6-person cabana and a 12-person family cabana. One of the things you get is complimentary towels. I think you get 6 of them. Also, you get some water. They will serve food. There's a tablet basically in the cabana, and you order food and it'll bring it to your cabana. When you arrive, there's a nice fruit basket in there. And another really cool thing about the cabanas is you can pick which ride you want to get in the virtual line, tap with your TapoTapo right there in the cabana, and get in the virtual line, and you don't even have to get up until your ride time comes up as ride now. Now make sure when you get to the ride now on your wearable that you go within, I believe it's still an hour window. Originally it was perpetual for the rest of the day, but that caused issues. So when you are in a virtual line, when you get to about 5 minutes, you can head over there, because there is a very short, here's another thing. There's a very short actual line that you are going to stand in. And if you think, well, this time is incorrect, when you tap, the time on your wearable will actually be lower than the posted time. This is because the approximate 10-minute actual line that you stand in is factored in to the, say it's 50 minutes. It'll be 40 minutes and then 10 minutes standing in the actual line. So the sign, the time that's posted on the sign is the entire, when you tap till when you're on the ride. So that's why the time is different as well. So it's that's another thing that is a little confusing, because at first you're like, oh, cool, it just went down by 10 minutes. That's something that I wasn't sure about. And another thing that is pretty cool about the TapoTapo system is here in Florida, in the summer especially, we get thunderstorms pretty much every single day in the afternoon. And of course, they have to shut down the rides, the attractions during the thunderstorm, because if lightning strikes in the area, it can go through the ground and, at least in theory, into the water. The interesting thing is that water is actually not a conductor of electricity. It's the impurities in water that conducts electricity. And so just as a precaution, every single water park and pool has that role. And if you have your own pool, it's a good idea to do. But the TapoTapo will actually alert you to weather in the area, and you'll know that the rides are suspended. But don't confuse this with the park being closed, because the park does not close completely because of a thunderstorm. Usually they'll pass, but at least in the beginning, a lot of people left during this time. So if it's a short thunderstorm, just wait it out. It'll work in your favor. Although I noticed over time that more people figured this out, so it's not as effective anymore. So who here in the chat room is looking forward to going to Volcano Bay? It is, like I've said before, it is a great water park. I really enjoy it. It's different than Disney's water parks. It's debatable if it's better. Of course, it's a lot newer. The thing I don't quite like about it is some of the slides do leak a little bit of water, but it's definitely a modern water park. I kind of look at it like the McDonald's play areas. The old ones were kind of just regular metal bars and were just good enough. And now the modern ones are themed better, and they're more aesthetically pleasing and safer because of innovation. And the theming of Volcano Bay is, I think, stronger than it was. Wet n Wild was one of the early water parks, and they didn't really do theming. But Volcano Bay is very well themed, and of course is modern and really great. I just wish they had more space for it. So let's see here. It's about 48 minutes already. Wow. So if nobody in the chat room has any more questions for me, you feel free to post them once this goes to on demand. Sorry, I can't seem to remember the some of the names, but I've been up since 4 a.m., so maybe I'm a little tired. But thank you very much for everybody who joined me in the chat room. And again, unless you have some other comments or questions, if you have anything you think of later, please post them in the comments section. Other than that, thanks for watching, and please exit through the gift shop. And remember, after I click finish, if there are any comments to come through, I'll see it after I finish being live. So if I don't mention your comment, sorry, it probably came in too late. So bye.